This video will begin your process of learning how to develop programs in a structured and systematic way. And we start with a step one of the four-step programming process. There will be more steps later on, but for right now we're going to go up to 4 steps. So we'll take a look here to start with in our code. We can start with a base program. This is one that you should probably keep in your file all the time so that you can open it up and jump straight into writing programs, as we will do. Remember, it has the 5 main parts of a complete program: the header files, the global constants, the function prototypes, the main function or the program, and the supporting function implementation. Now, we really won't use that much of all of these, but you must have them in a complete program. You can also put the / none if you'd like, but in any event, these main topics and main items must be there in your program to call it a complete program. So our very beginning part of this right here is what every single program will have to have some kind of part of. And that is, in every single program they'll almost always, or virtually always, have to have some kind of program initialization. And so we're going to put in our initialize program component right there. And then we're also going to have some kind of end program process. In our case, it's fairly simple. We just have to return success to the operating system to show it that this was a successful program, and by returning 0 we do exactly that. So that is the beginnings of our program. This is the guts of a program. Of any program you write will always have some kind of initialize, some kind of end program with at least a small step there. Now, our specific program here will be one that solves for the roots of a quadratic equation. We have a quadratic equation formula we can use, but we need to know how we're going to implement this in a computer program. And the truth is, it just really isn't very difficult. What we're always going to have to do is find out what the coefficients are, because the quadratic equation requires the coefficients a for x squared, b for x, and c for the constant. So we will ask the user for the coefficients, and we'll get those from the user so we can use them for our calculations. We will say that we can process or calculate the quadratic roots, and then we need to say that we're going to display those roots. Now, this really isn't very hard, and we have written a program. By definition, a program is a series of steps that solves a problem. And we've done exactly that. We do have to do some kind of program initialization. We're going to get the input from the user, and this is very common. And then we're going to do the calculations, the processing of the quadratic roots, and then we're going to show those to the user so that they can find out what the answer is that they're looking for. So it's got to be in the correct order. You can't process the roots before you get the coefficients, and you certainly can't display them before you've processed them. So remember, go back to our sequencing, our linear progression, and know that we have to do this in this particular order. But this is it. This is the entire program that we need to develop at the step 1 level. These are 5 main steps. Remember, we don't want to go more than 8 or 10 at any level. And the level is just basically where you put your forward slashes here, where your line. We've got 2 levels shown here. We've got our main level for our step 1, but we actually do have a sub-step here of that level because we have to have the return 0 in there. Now, what we want to do here is we want to save this file. We're going to save it as, we're going to call it quad, and we're going to call it S1 of 4. And that's kind of unusual, but we're qualifying that we're only going 4 steps on this one. And then we can call it version 1, and then we could put .cpp on there if we wanted to, but the compiler, this IDE system, will in fact add that for us. So we have that up there, quad S1 of 4, version 1, and now we can compile this. Now, it's really a very simple program. It doesn't do anything but stop. But the fact of the matter is, it is still compilable, and you always want to keep compiling anytime you write any kind of code parts. The comments don't really require compiling, but anything code-wise, which we had in there, we want to verify that that's okay. So with that in mind, we really have taken care of that first step of the four-step programming process. And we have the main operations that are going to happen in this. What's critical, however, is that all of those operations have to happen in that order, but if they do, we will in fact have a solution, and we will get the quadratic roots that we're looking for. So that will end our step 1 video, and we'll be ready to move on to step 2.